Welcome back, everyone, to the Crypto Trailblazer series. This is theCUBE studio in the New York Stock Exchange, of course. We have our studio in Palo Alto connecting Silicon Valley and Wall Street and the rest of the world around. One of the most hottest trends, AI infrastructure, crypto infrastructure, all coming together, but the decentralized nature of crypto infrastructure is enabling a new form of patterns, money making, but more importantly, a disruptive enablement that's going to change the world. And we're featuring all the leaders here. And we've got Bryan Pellegrino, co-founder and CEO of LayerZero. Welcome to theCUBE. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's interesting, the observation I've had since doing the series here at the NYSE Wired community is that the market is accepting it, right? It's mainstreaming. You go back a couple of years ago, it's like, keep them, but they were secretly working on it too, all the banks, all the institutions. So now you have money meets tech. Tech money is happening. You guys are in the middle of it. You got significant backers. Explain what the company does. I want to get into this because you're at a critical part of this connective tissue that is interoperating the protocol level. Explain what you guys do, and we'll jump in.
So, in a very simple way, we connect every chain. So the insight we had was, years ago when we started to have all these chains spin up, I looked at it as, this is pre-internet world. You got Stanford, you got DARPA, you got all these networks of computers that exist. None of them can talk to each other. Right now we have a bunch of distributed execution environments that are chains. That's all they are. And there's no way for them to talk to each other. And we were trying to build something for ourselves. And what we were trying to build needed you to execute contracts on both chains. There's no way to do that. And so that is the core of what we've done, is built a communication layer to do that. And basically to allow these chains to talk to each other. Fast forward today, we have $200-ish million of applications built on top of us. We've had $36 billion move across the rails this month alone. So now it's grown to now it's real meaningful transactional volume. You have single transactions of $800 million being moved. And we can go into kind of what that looks like, because the cost structure of a lot of this stuff is changing drastically. But that's what we do. We allow arbitrary contract invocation across any chain. So you can build any application. Does it have to be financial? It does have to be money? Be anything. Any information, just like a packet on the internet. Yeah,
DeFi and TradFi, I was talking to someone, I'm from tech side, it's like, that's just back end, front end. What are we talking about here? Like, come on. And where's the middleware? So I have to ask you on the protocol, where is it sitting? And how do you guys abstract that away from the app?
Yep. Yeah. So I think the approach that had been taken prior to us was everyone had this vision of, we're going to make our own thing and put it in the middle, and everything will flow through us, which is like a great vision because naturally you're going to consume all of the transactions of all of the world. We took the vision that we're that middle thing, or anybody's that middle thing. It's very hard for the rest of the world to just delegate trust to that thing. So we're actually entirely stateless. LayerZero, an endpoint, lives on every chain. It's just a library of smart contracts that lives on chain. It's completely stateless itself. What's happening is some transactions happening on a source chain. You are creating an attestation of that and presenting on another chain and establishing effectively a channel across that, and that's how communication is happening. So the protocol itself is stateless, endpoints that live on all these 140 chains, and the applications themselves come in and build on top of it. Now the main layer of abstraction you have to build to give a good experience is, if I'm going from Ethereum to Solana, I have ETH on Ethereum. I don't necessarily have Sol on Solana. So I have to pay a transaction here and a transaction there, and I don't have one of those currencies. And so one of the things we do that's very convenient for the developer is just completely abstract that side of things. If you're a user, even if you're doing 5 hops across 5 chains and touching all these different states and execution, you only ever sign your transaction one time. You pay your gas on the local chain. Everything else is fully abstracted away. So when you're talking front end, when you're talking developer, the experience for that is just completely seamless, right? The user is just performing an action.
And you sit on all the chains so that you create that peer-to-peer, if you will, connection to make that one piece.
Yep.
So you manage the Sol on Solana for them on their behalf.
Yep.
And do that for them.
Only on the gas side. So not, again, if you're, if you're transferring, $100 million worth of ETH, it's not like we have $100 million of ETH inventory sitting on both sides, but we're paying the gas on each side and abstracting the gas. So we're dealing with gas inventory across all of these chains, pricing it in real time. So on these ends,
it's like an option exchange too. Awesome. So when did it really kick in for you when you said, okay, this is working? When was the moment it started to click in, wow, this is actually working?
Yeah, I mean, we started we started with zero expectation. I mean, we're a bunch of nerds just building. We didn't intend to start a company, to be quite honest with you. We were building something that we needed ourselves, a piece of technology that we thought was very interesting. And it really, when we started going to people, and we built it for ourselves, we built our own first product on top of this thing. We started to go to people, and it was very clear that people needed this. Yeah. And then we started working with some of our biggest partners. So this is when you see things like Tether's USDT, like PayPal's PYUSD. All of the stable coins, all of that flow now is happening on top of us. You started to see people say, "Oh, okay," and not just, "Oh, okay, like this is cool, let me try it," but "Oh, okay, like I did this and now I have $10 billion more of AUM," right? Like they really started to move the needle for people. And so it was really just that. You saw how quickly it connected with the developers itself. Yeah. And then as we continue to just really focus on like building the best experience, you started to see really big unlocks happening at the level of the application. Like not just this is cool or we have a great partnership to announce, but like, hey, this like very meaningfully moved the needle for the business itself. And
it's a piece of the puzzle. I love the word plumbing because in the old infrastructure days, plumbing was moving packets from point A to point B. You created the plumbing at a level that was not disruptive. Yep. So it's easy to execute. So just get that at that point, managing the gas, which is a key problem people were having problems with. Remember the old days, gateways were always never 100% good. Yep. So that was a problem. So interoperability has been one of those thorny issues that requires standards, right? So back in the internet, pre-internet, TCP/IP made that happen. In a way, that's happening here. What made this happen? Was it just the standard of being simple? Or what was the key enabler there?
It's funny, my first job was when I was in university, and my two co-founders, we worked in an interoperability lab working on standards for all of the early internet technologies. So I was working on voice over IP standards. They were data center bridging, DSL. And so, we're very, very, very familiar with that world, with IEEE, with the way to get to proper standards. I think there was two things that really moved the needle from our side. One, of course, is standardization. We created a token standard. Again, you have hundreds of billions of dollars of assets built on top of this token standard. Now it just makes it easy, makes it normalized, battle tested, audited, all of those things. So yes, that mattered. I think the big thing though, like the largest difference in our architecture was a shift in the layer of trust. And so a shift in the layer of trust was if I was designing this thing in the middle where everything ran through me, then you as an application, say you're Uniswap or Aave, you have $30, $50 billion there, are you going to delegate the trust of those assets to me to control with my whatever structure I'm putting together? If you're JP Morgan and Goldman and settling a trade, are you going to delegate it to give me right access to your chain? To me, of course not. And so our big insight was like, every one of these channels is unique, and you can have shared structures around that, but you have to give them the ability to own it directly. And so if you think about Circle, CCTP, that's how they move assets. You allow every issuer to own their own CCP. They have the ability to have full control over attestation, over security. If you're now JP Morgan and Goldman and you're settling a trade, you can handshake directly. We don't sit, we are the protocol layer that happens. We are the technology that enables that, but it really was this move towards more immutable decentralization. Here is what this actually looks like. And then everything can build on top. And then we have spent the time to build this, to make it easy, to make it compelling, to do everything. But it was really the shift of to get the people who really mattered and get the big applications that were going to move, you had to give them the lever to own the control if they want to own the control. And that was just unintuitive, I think, at the time.
Brian, I brought up the TCP/IP because when I was in my 20s, the OSI 7-layer model came out. Yep. You're familiar with that, obviously, because you worked on it. But like all 7 layers actually never happened. But the ones that mattered did. Yep. And then what happened next, by the way, it was like a de facto standard. When the spec was just kind of loose. It wasn't brittle, but it was just like, okay, here it is. Yeah, and it was adopted. So once you had that kind of orchestration and solidarity around, let's just get behind this, because magic happens once that happens. That killed the NOSes, proprietary NOSes, network operating systems, or the IBMs and the DECs and the mini computers. That ushered in a massive wealth creation because everyone else just took the top. Because the interoperability piece was the most important piece. That probably was the most disruptive enabler since decentralized that I could think of. I mean, I would put NVIDIA in that class and GPUs for sure. So GPU work and then this. I really can't think of any other disruptive enabler. Even the iPhone, I would say, doesn't match that because it was one company. what is your view on what this will unlock for the future? What's your vision? Because if that is any prediction of future behavior, it's going to create more entrepreneurship, more creativity, more financial products, better everything.
Yep.
What's your vision on what this will disrupt and enable?
Yeah, my view is we're living through right now one of the most unique times in history where it's if you think about the structural change in money and how money works or in the financials, it's like hard to think about living through something sort of larger than that. And you look at it now, I mean, Tether has created this unbelievable business, $16 billion worth of profits this year, and it's largely bottoms up through emerging market nations that want access to US dollars and want access to these, and they just haven't had a way to have access before. And I was just actually going through, I saw a chart that somebody posted on the mobility of money throughout history and globalization. And you basically had this run up in the late 1800s to early 1900s, where it was like, people said, wars are done, globalization has solved everything. 1914 happens and it drops straight down, and it takes almost 80 years until you start to re-ramp and recover. And what happened is a lot of this was global instituted policy at the nation level, and normal citizens and people had no ability. There was no capital mobility right now. And really, this technology is given away for bottoms-up mobility. Like, again, you can have somebody in Argentina, you can have somebody in Nigeria, in Egypt, in Turkey, and any of these places who have super high inflation, have all these issues happening, and now they have access to dollars. And not only have access to dollars, now you were talking about financial innovation, now they have access to lending and savings rates. Now they have access to, all of these structures that are being built on top of this in a way that just didn't happen before. So before, globalization and mobility money was really defined top down because it was trade, it was physical trade. And now you have mobility of actual dollars, mobility of financial products, mobility of all of this happening from the bottoms up. And it's anybody with a phone, anybody with a computer has access to this stuff now. And that's just like such a large change. It's almost hard to wrap your mind around.
Well, one thing, just to riff on that, is what decentralized does is kind of creates a truth layer. Because if you look at like the 1929 panic, there's a book out by Andrew Ross Salkind around 1929 crash. He's all on the TV. I've seen him on all the pods. And he's trying to get people to say, are we going to have another 1920? Well, if you look at the market last week, another entrepreneur that was in here before you said, it really didn't panic on the other side. It panicked here. So panic's an emotional thing. Yep. Running the banks, that's a human reaction. It has nothing to do with math. So you could argue that the transparency of the market is there. You talk about inflation. Why does inflation happen in these areas? Bad government or bad things happen, bad human decisions, whatever, macro, non-related things to the reality of life. Now, the impact is significant to the people. So this is now interesting because what's your thoughts and reaction to that? Because you can almost say that the transparency and the efficiency is a almost true capitalism.
Yeah.
In the measurements, it's just analytics.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think again, what you have, I mean, part of it was just access. If you, if you were living in whatever country, in Indonesia and anywhere, like it was extremely difficult to get U.S. dollars, to buy U.S. Equities, to hold, to all of these things that are becoming, potentially possible as you move forward, and dollars are very possible. And I say, so like the economic freedom that an individual enjoys has massive.
So if I'm living in a country that's got massive inflation for some whatever reason, they all have their reasons. I just go to I just get my wallet. I purchase with USD.
Yeah, you walk around El Salvador.
I don't care what
that's
noise to me now at this point. I can still, and the merchants can just go retail.
Merchants,
say, hey,
they want Tether.
I got all the services and the banks. I'm just going to have different rails. One goes to the inflation. No one's going to go there because everything just went down. Yep. So this to me is the fundamental thing. All right, so I gotta imagine that the appetite for what you're working on is high, given the success. Tell me the origination story, and then the journey to financing and the froth in the market. Share the story.
Sure. So I mean, my background is a little bit all over. I grew up in a rural town of 900 people. I'm a nerd with a computer. There's nothing around. I went to school for computer science and dropped out to play poker professionally, of all things. So I did like 80 countries. I traveled the world. I played the highest stakes. The game that I played, I was one of the best players in the world. And then online poker gets banned in the US. So I saw regulation like that. My job, all my money was locked up. Everything was done and frozen. And that's actually when I found Bitcoin, because Bitcoin was the original way that you could move money between the remaining poker sites. So it was like first product market fit was okay, like outside of existing sort of regulation.
Things are blocked. Let's unblock it with this.
Yes, exactly. So I found Bitcoin then, started a company, sold it, built some machine learning models, sold them to some pro baseball teams, another company, and then did some academic research, published with Noam Brown and AI, did all of that stuff. Really smart contracts is what changed everything for me. So Ethereum comes out, you have smart contracts. Now it's like, okay, before we had money, we had Bitcoin, we had this form of thing that's interesting. I was passionate about, I was mining, I was doing all of these things. But now you have programmable money, and that was like a night and day difference. And so, again, it was very interesting there, but it wasn't until Binance Smart Chain, BNB Chain now came out, you really started to hear more volume than Ethereum, more users than Ethereum. And that was like very idiosyncratic. Like other things existed, but like people didn't actually use them. Yeah. And so now we're like, okay, what can you actually do here? What would you do if you had this environment? Ethereum's very expensive at the time. It's hard to do real computation there. Now you have something that's fast and cheap. You just treat it as entirely ephemeral, right? And so what do? It's almost like a roll up before a roll up. And so we just started building toy things for ourselves of here is this environment. Let's build something here and let's roll the result back to Ethereum. And as we were trying to do that, we realized, oh wait, there is no way to do the execution across the two environments. And so then we were like, okay, but surely somebody solved this, right? And so then we started looking to bridges. And we looked in the state of bridging at the time. We're like horrified. It was like, oh my God, how is anybody using any of this stuff? And so really, and since then, we're $5 billion of bridge hacks later, and like everything that existed then has been hacked. So it was like, it was really bad.
Yeah, exactly.
And so then we started looking into what would a better design for this be? And as we started to go through,
so you went to the drawing board, basically.
Went to the drawing board of what would it be? How would we rebuild this thing better? And as we were rebuilding that, we realized there's still no way to execute. Even if you wanted a bridge that gets rid of wrapped assets, native assets only, you're adding here, subtracting there, just simple inventory exchange. You still have to execute the contracts on both sides. You still need a layer for doing that. And we just realized, this is very clearly the generalizable problem. And so really we were building it. Again, zero intention to start a company. We were building it for ourselves. We're building it to then build this thing. And we built the thing that we knew we needed as the developer. And we really tried to harden ourselves, and that it was it. And then it was just after we launched. So we launched March of 2022. And it has just, it was a messy environment early. There's a bunch of people trying to solve the same problem, and it has been this sort of slow march to where, I remember the first time we moved $1 million across the rails. It was exciting. It was like somebody we don't know who it is. Somebody in the world is using this. There's real capital. It's like this is happening. And now we just had, just last week, we had an $800 million transfer and a $550 million transfer. And you're talking, you move $800 million for, I think it was like $1.80 or something. You know what I mean? You're talking like something that's just completely
the economics
disconnected from the world that exists today and in trying to actually move.
And just for the people that don't know how hard it is, what's the alternative to move 800 million? What would you have to do? People don't understand that, but scope the magnitude difference between the old way.
The magnitude difference is you have to have a bank that's open. You have to bank that is going to allow you to move that size. You have to go through SWIFT. You have to have postal
all kinds of hassles.
You have to have, so much stuff to move. Even try to send a $100,000 wire in your bank. You're going to get a phone call. You're going to have to answer all of these screening questions. You're going to have to do everything. It is just a mess. And so the ability to do on demand, there is an economic opportunity. You want free-flowing capital, and so you fast forward.
All right, so you hit product market fit. Obviously, you saw it. You were engineering for yourselves. Obviously, your friends needed it, which is your fellow builders. It starts working. When does the money come in? Do they come after you? Was it like we should raise money?
Oh yeah.
Who was the first person to hit you up?
We had a very idiosyncratic raising environment in that in all 4 of our rounds, we were never actively raising. We were preempted all 3 times. Even through our round at $3 billion, we never had a pitch deck. So we had a very non-standard experience. So we had lightning in a bottle, really. Yeah. Our first round was 2 at 25. This was just friends. Friends knew we were building. We're excited about. We're talking. They said, let us give you, turn this into something.
Take our money.
Let us give you something. So we did that. Our second round was 6.450. Our second round was really we want to have the largest or second largest stakeholder of every major DeFi protocol in the world. We want to have people who work deeply with these people, who know them, who can sort of work with us to help get these integrations and do that. So our second round was co-led by Multicoin and Binance, big set of people. And then our rounds after that was 135 at $1 billion and 120 at $3 billion, and both of those were co-led by Andreessen Horowitz and Sequoia. I think we were the first round ever in the time that they had shared that they had co-led, which was like amazing, amazing testament.
Dogs and cats living together.
Yeah, I mean, they've been amazing. So I'm really glad we actually turned down at $1 billion. We turned down $1.5 billion to get the groups that we wanted, because our focus then said,
it's all about teamwork there.
We said, listen. We know what we're building from the technology side. We don't want input on the technology. It's not that we won't welcome it. What we don't know is how to build a world-class company, right? That's what we want. That's what we're trying to pull out.
Yeah, and have support too. Have some, have a good, bunch of people around you that's not going to get in your way.
Yep.
They're not going to speed you up or slow you down.
Yep. And so so we went through the round, went through the round at $1 billion, went through the round at $3 billion. And it was really just who can we pull in, who are the most strategic sort of best partners. And so groups like Coinbase, groups like Circle, groups like PayPal, all investors, are across the board. Unbelievable.
All right, give the quick stats on the company. Obviously, you started 2022. People, what you're looking to do, some key metrics you're tracking that you're following, what you're focused on, what you're optimizing for. Yeah,
so we are about 150 people right now, spread out between New York, Vancouver, and Hong Kong. So 3 offices across the board. Global clients everywhere in terms of people building on top of us. We have 65,000 contracts built on top of us. Call it a couple, pushing 600 to 1,000 real, meaningful sort of applications driving volume. We've done about $36 billion of volume on top of us this month. All of the names, almost every major stablecoin outside of kind of 1 or 2, all built on top of us. So all the big names there. More and more now has been with the intersection of traditional finance and this. So, all of your big, wonderful groups here in New York and what everybody's doing. Same thing with the fintechs. Metrics we care about, right? We care about how much money is moving. What is the real economic value that's unlocking, right? Where is that trending? What does it look like? Where is it clear? Stable coins has been just like massive product market fit for us. So that has been phenomenal. Other than that, it is the speed of developers. What does developer adoption look like? Overall messaging across the network. Those are the real things we're focused on.
Yeah, I mean, you got a great mission, and the timing is important that you stay focused on that, because like we talked about earlier, in interoperability protocols, it's an enabler, right? And so ecosystems will develop, builders will build on top of it, money will move, it's plumbing.
Yep.
So you got to connect to other things and keep that solid, and then once that's done, release the innovation.
Yep.
Congratulations, thanks for coming on theCUBE, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Totally, definitely trailblazing. So trailblazing happens at many levels. Again, the plumbing on the infrastructure side of crypto is super important as this new era comes in with stable coins and as money infrastructure and the applications and the products are going to be built. We didn't even get to that. We'll come back in another segment and talk about that and the entrepreneurial opportunities that will be formed from the great innovation. I'm John Furrier, your host. Thanks for watching.